So I had a really sweet set of Ashkacha Pratis today that I want to share. Um, Hashem seems to be an alarm clock. That a person that has emunah and bitachon that Hashem is ultimately running the world. I believe fully that Hashem wakes us up when we need to be awake, and we're also asleep when we need to be asleep. So I want to share with you two super sweet stories that happened to me, and it was really sparked by seeing a clip from Rabbi Elimelech Bidermin today that was sent to me through their Chizuk group. So we'll start first with what Rabbi Elimelech shared.
Erzählt einer, als ich bin in Golders Green in London, ich bin dort 2 Tage über Nacht. Aber dort hat es geklingelt zu einem der Telefon. Der Telefon geklingelt 2 über Nacht. Geid sitzt im Telefon. Der Mal geweckt 2 über Nacht, wer hat? Die Polizei. Polizei, 2 Tage über Nacht. Fragt er, was will, ne? Haben sie gesagt, was sie will? Die will sie wohl mit der Karte, mit der Texte. So mit der Text, das ist nicht bezahlt. Also gesagt, die Geist darauf nehmen Geld. Wir müssen darauf gehen, es ist gleich geschluckt, da steht im Wald hinten, der Text Wald hinten. Der Driver von dem Text, die klingen Polizei. Der gesagt, ich weiß nicht, was will. Ich will in Neuland. Ich schluf schon lange Schuhe, und ich bin mich gefahren, beklau mit keinem Text. Ich weiß nicht, was will, beklau für mein Leben zu. Dann haben wir gefragt, wie wohnst du? Die wohnst im Bedreif, in der Gas Bedreif, dort in Goldesien. Ja, in dem Nummer, ja, in dem Stock, ja. Nun, der Driver ist hinten, wartet auf dir, die wisst du's. Das ist nicht ich bin nicht gefahren mit keinem Taxi. Ich schluf schon lange schon. In der Sparen sagt er, sagt er, die Polizei sagt er, ich fuhr, er sagt nicht. Aber wie geht's ein bisschen geworden? Also du, der Hauptbedreif, du in eine andere Gegend in London noch. Eine andere Gegend. Doch dasselbe Gasbedreif. Und dort war der Taxi. Das ist verlangt nicht bei ihm. Sie nicht bei ihm, es ist ein anderer Platz. Durch der Eid, wo sollt jeder eine getehen noch als Amas, ja? Ein Telefon, also für die Polizei 2 Tage über Nacht, also tu es. Wo sollt jeder eine gemacht? Aber wir aus dem Telefon, so hat gedreht oder andere sagt schlufen, na? Ich glaube, ich habe gesagt nicht, also, er sagt, die Stiebe, du sind nicht die Polizei, es kommt also ein Telefon 2 Tage über Nacht, du bist der Eidischter. Sie nicht du, Kashim Sache nicht der, nicht jener, es ist nicht Polizei, nicht der, nicht jener. Jede Sache doch der Eibischter allein. Aber ich sage, der Eibischter klickt daran, der Eibischter weckt auf, da hat man auch gehabt im Bett. Er hat auch gegangen, mit einem Rebetzen, in 2 Seiger, so 2, 3, keiner Ruf, du bist kein mit ihm. Und ich habe gesagt, suchen Tillen. Wegen sich suchen Tillen, also er hat euer Beuker. In der Früh, da klingt der Mund an Sinn, an Sinn klingt der Mund in der Früh, da hat der Maseltorf, es gibt mal Maseltorf, gehabt der Engel. In der Sucht von Taten, also sagen, 2 Tage über Nacht nicht betun. Ist sie gewähnt dort ein größtes Sibichem, gleich als Hunger der Leute, gewinnt schweres Sibichem, so und ich dachte, Rachen immer eben, noch hat er nicht gewollt aufwecken, Tat. Hat er nicht gewollt aufwecken. Sagt er mit Tat, der eine hat mal aufgeweckt. Sagt er, wer, der Eibischte. Ich habe gesagt, Tiden, versteht du das jetzt? Versteht der Maß? Einer hat mal aufgeweckt. Aber versteht sie nicht, der Polizei, nicht hier, das ist alles der Eibischte.
I would highly suggest that everyone subscribe via WhatsApp. It's absolutely awesome, the little clips that you get from Rabbi Elimelech Bidermin here. So anyways, I couldn't believe it when I saw this story, and I want to share with you why. Before I share with you why, I just want to say, we have a real makkah for this, that Hashem wakes a person up, that David HaMelech every single night would wake up around Chatzos from the wind blowing in his room, and ultimately his harp would make a noise. His instrument that was in his room, his stringed instrument that was in the room, would make a noise which would wake him up. Hashem was waking him up. And I have a lot of stories like this also myself, and I'm sure that many other people have many other stories like this, but I couldn't believe that this on as you can see, Yom Gimel, Parshas Matas Masai, Chav Beis Tammuz, was sent by Rabbi Elimelech Bidermin, because just this morning I had a similar circumstance. So I'm not going to share the person that the conversation was with, but as you can see here, at let me go up a little bit. At 10:25 p.m. last night, I saw a video that included someone's son in it. That was a very sweet video. And so I sent it to the father, not thinking necessarily that the father was going to see the video unless someone sent it to him. So I sent it to him about 10:25. Wasn't necessarily expecting a response or anything like that, but probably, or maybe I would see him in shul or something along those lines. And it was a sentiment 10:25 p.m. It happened to be that last night because one of my sons was not in his bed, but instead was in the room where my wife and baby were. I didn't want to wake anyone up, so I decided I'll just go to sleep in my son's bed because he wasn't there in his bed. So I laid down and said my Kriya Shema, fell asleep, and which is really not the norm, I hear a bing on my phone at 4:14 a.m. with two fireworks coming off of it. Now I'm only seeing that that's really interesting. 4:14 is actually the gematria of Or Ein Sof, the light of infinity. Also, it's shtei or two lights combined together. So it's interesting by itself that it was 4:14 a.m. But he sent to me at 4:14 a.m. a message just saying, thanks for sharing. Obviously, he had no clue that I have a chavrus at 4:30 a.m. And it happened to be that I did not set my alarm that night for my chavrusa, which I always have my alarm set. And I always have my phone silenced, right? So I always have my phone silenced at night. I should not have heard a WhatsApp message. I always have my alarm on, so my alarm should have been going off soon thereafter. But Hashem wanted me to be at my chavrusa. So since my alarm wasn't on to wake me up, the sounds on my phone were on. And a few hours after I fell asleep, I needed to wake up for my chavrusa. Without this ping, I can't imagine that I would have been up. So when I heard it, I said, wow, Hashem, thank you for waking me up. I'll be ready for my chavrusa and I can get a couple of things done right beforehand. So that came in the morning, and I had my own experience that was exactly the same as what Rabbi Elimelech Bidermin shared on the third day of this week, which I found absolutely amazing. And now I'm seeing it's also super incredible because you see here the Hashgacha Pratis of the Gematrias with even the badge that the person sent me or whatever this picture is with two lights on it, which is actually the Gematria of 414, is pretty spectacular. And I'll share one other story where Hashem was my alarm clock. Sometimes we think we need an alarm in order to wake ourselves up. When my baby was born last year, I was always exhausted and I was getting very, very little sleep. And I had missed a couple of my chavrusas and I felt bad about it. So one night I was sleeping out near, in the common area because I took care of the baby for many hours that night and I was exhausted. And I wanted to get up for my chavrusa, and I had been learning with one of my students the halachas about when is it that a person should get up for tikkun chatzos, or to get up before alos hashachar, that you should be able to wake in the dawn, or at the very least get up in time to be able to learn. So on that particular night that I was so tired, I had been trying to get up before Alos HaShachar at the time during the summer, which was relatively early, somewhere around 3:30 in the morning. So I was talking to Hashem before I went to sleep, before I said Kriya Shema, and I said to Hashem, I don't think that it would make much sense for me to wake myself up, before Alos HaShachar. I'm not even sure if it would make sense for me to wake up in order to have my chavrusa because I've been sleeping so little. I'm not sure if it's good for my health. So Hashem, I'm going to leave it up to your hands. I'm going to leave it in your hands that if you want to wake me up for Alos HaShachar, if you want to wake me up for my chavrusa, then if my eyes open up at that time and I check the time, then I'll get up and I'll have my chavrusa, etc. even though it was only a very short amount of sleep. So I closed my eyes, and I was woken up by a safer fell off of a shelf in the room. And I checked what time is it? So, I open up my phone and I take a look at the time and the zmanim, and it turns out to be 1 minute before Alos Shachar. 1 minute before Alos Shachar, this sefer fell off of the bookshelf, and I got up after I washed my hands. I said Modani, I washed my hands, and I took a look. What was the sefer that fell off of the bookshelf? Keser Shem Tov, which is a sefer that I learned with Mecharusa. So as we can see, just like Rabbi Elimelech Bidermin was saying, that who's the one that wakes you up in the morning ultimately? How does a Yid look at this? It's Hashem waking us up. And these are very, very important and special stories. I'll try to share some more. Maybe I'll call it part 2 or something like that. Anyways, this should be, for the schus that I'm sharing this video, should be the schus for the Refuah Shlema of Eliyahu Binyamin Ben Rus, who recently had a fall on a hike while he's with his wife, 40 feet. And Baruch Hashem, he lived, he's healing, he's recovering, he's going through a lot of different surgeries, and there's a lot of pain. Hashem should give him mamish a refuah shlema immediately, and with menuchas and nefesh for his family, and ultimately they should be able to have gratitude through the situation. As hard as that may seem, they should be able to find gratitude and happiness and calm and closer, more togetherness than they had even before it, and an appreciation for life, and an appreciation for one another, and an appreciation for their community that's doing such amazing things, davening for one another. I am inspired now actually by one more story. So I said before, let me tell you one more story. I'm going to tell you one more, because after beginning to make this video, I remembered that just yesterday, I'm working with one of my students on the concept of davening and being thankful to Hashem, both for the things that are good and the things that are bad. Learning kind of like how to extract from experiences that are negative the good that's within them, being able to thank Hashem for even those negative experiences. So while I was thinking about this, and especially because of what's going on right now with my good friend Eliyahu Binyamin and their family, who are so wonderful and hosted us for Shabbos, so it reminded me that literally just yesterday, my student, we were talking about this. He said one of the things that he'd like to feel more thankful for is bugs. So we discussed 2 different situations with bugs, one being mosquitoes. So I said to him, there's a story that I was told by a man, Benny Karen, from Milwaukee, that he was fighting in Vietnam. And when he was there, one of the people that were in his troop, one of his fellow soldiers, was all of a sudden attacked by a mosquito. And that mosquito came and went into his ear. So he went to go hit the mosquito. And as he went to hit the mosquito, a bullet flew right by where his head would have been if the mosquito wouldn't have come there. So he said that he always has felt since then that there's definitely a purpose for mosquitoes in this world. So when I said this to him, so my student told me that in the name of Rabbi Lazer Brody, this spectacular English-speaking Breslov rabbi, so he apparently heard a story from Rabbi Lazer Brody that there was a time period when he was serving in the army, and his entire troop was so tired. As you can see here, I actually wrote notes down in my student was asking me, why are you writing notes about the story? I said, because I want to be able to remember it also. So here it's going to be put to, it's going to be able to make purpose out of it even more. He said that they were extremely tired and they all fell asleep. And behind the trees from where they were sleeping were two terrorists that were gonna kill them. And all of a sudden, when these terrorists were about to attack, a whole bunch of mosquitoes came into their camp and bit them up. This woke all of them up, and it was just in time for them to be able to defend themselves from the terrorists. So, anyways, it's another story of being woken up by Hashem for a purpose. Hashem should reveal himself to us, and we should all be woken up to our purpose every single day. We should always feel like it's Hashem that's opening up our eyes, and it's Hashem that's giving us our purpose. We should always look forward to every single day of life, and we should always strive to see the truer and deeper meanings in all of these moments, including, the phone ringing because the police are calling, or the mosquitoes that come to bite us, or the books that fall off the shelves, and whatever it might be for anyone else. Sometimes we take for granted these smaller things in life, like waking up, and the mysteries of the world that can open up to us when we just simply ask Hashem. When we ask Hashem, Hashem, you wake me up, please. Please open up my eyes in the morning. Please open up my eyes in the morning and help me see my purpose. We should all be privy to see our purpose, and we should all be privy to be woken up every single day to the happinesses of our families and our loved ones and our good health.